How's it going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, Quiz Trades. Happy Friday. I hope y'all had a good week and I hope y'all have a good weekend. Today I have a little I don't even know, a little just a video to kind of explain one of the main functions of my model. It's a very fundamental function and I kind of only realized it due to the beginning of this month, a trade that I missed. So let me first get into that and how me missing this trade actually showed it to me. So beginning of this month, September, right here, we had August lows. Okay, we had weekly lows and we had monthly lows and daily lows. So if you know this model, QMT3, the most up-to-date model, you know that the main way I trade this is off of weekly lows and off of potentially monthly lows. But one of the main reasons I missed my main trade at the beginning of this month was because I didn't know what low we'd come to, right? So we had this change in state here, okay? This down move before this up move to sweep Friday high, right? This Thursday right here swept this Friday high, making this a bullish order block. So we had this daily change in state, as you can see how we closed through it and how Tuesday closed as well. We had this daily change in state. Now, because we had that daily change in state, I had marked out equilibrium and I thought that we'd come for August low. Okay. I thought we'd come for August low. We had already swept all our weekly lows aside our monthly lows. We swept. If I go to the weekly chart, let me just get this out of the way. So if I go to the weekly chart, this is the first week of August. Well, technically including this because this was the first Friday. So we have this is an August low, this is August low, and these three are August lows. This candle swept all of our August lows, but our monthly low right here. Right? If I go to the monthly, you can see our monthly low is right here. And at first, I thought it had to do, it kind of just aligned perfectly, right? So we held consequent encroachment of this wick, which was a nice PD array, but we had already pulled into that level once. Okay. The main thing that I realized and learned was that if we're getting a daily change in state, we're going for weekly lows. Okay, and this is how you can figure out what low we're going to target to catch the reversal point. So if we're getting a daily change in state, we're targeting weekly lows. If we were to get a weekly change in state, meaning if we were to close through any of if we were to close, let's say this candle right here swept this high, this candle right here, let me change this to a different color real quick. So let's say this is how it was looking, right? Then this would be a weekly bullish gap, okay? Let's say, for example, that this candle had closed through it. Then going into the next week, let me just try to get y'all to understand what I'm saying. So let's say market was actually looking like this. And I'll show examples of this in just a second. But let's say we were looking like this, right? And we had, we had closed through that order block. Then the function of price would be to target monthly lows. Okay? So just as when we trade this model, once we get a previous day low sweep, we wait for a 4-hour change in state, so then price would refunction to target highs. You also have to apply this same idea when we're looking for where to enter, right? You don't only use this to apply where our draw on liquidity to take profits is, but also where to enter. So what I mean by that is if we closed through a weekly order block, then we would target this month low right here. Then we would target month low. Then we'd have to wait for a daily change in state to the upside. And then we target month high, which again, that can happen, of course. Just depends on how price wants to function. But because we're so bullish, we didn't close through this entire because this right here is an entire bullish gap, bullish order block, sorry. So we didn't close through this, right? So there's no reason price is not functioned to target month low. The thing about this is though that it can happen simultaneously. We could get our change in state and take out month low at once. Okay, I'll show examples of this of previous months and weeks. But what you have to understand is when we close through a daily gap and get our weekly liquidity sweep, then you have to notice if we're closing back up that this functioning of change in state has already, like, it's done. We're not gonna get our change in state lower and then sweep monthly low. If that's not making sense, let me go to a couple months that already happened. See, and the thing is, it's kind of hard to find this in price because of how high time frame it is and how it's not that common, but you can still use it, right? So here we sweep monthly low. Okay, so here we sweep our monthly low while we're bullish, mind you, right? Because we had this high time frame liquidity sweep. Oh wait, I'm tripping. That's a weekly. This doesn't even matter then. Sorry. Here we sweep a monthly high, right? So for us to sweep this monthly high, and this is us being bearish. So why do we sweep this monthly high? This order block right here, this down move before this up move, we sweep our monthly high, right? Knowing this, how do we know what monthly low we're going to go for? So what we do is we fractalize, right? So first we see this down close candle before this up move. This is kind of the opposite. This is more of like what we target, but it's a good opposing example. I'll get into more examples just in a second. So this down close candle before this up move plays as our bullish order block. After sweeping monthly high, right? Think about it as after sweeping a monthly low, we close through this daily order block, which then functions our price to go for this monthly low. While doing that, we also close through this weekly bullish order block, this down close candle on the weekly before this up move to get that monthly liquidity sweep is a bullish weekly order block. So when we close through, and this is what I was saying, it can happen simultaneously. Once we close through that weekly order block, we also sweep this monthly low in January. Okay? And what does that mean? That means that now price is functioned because we got a weekly change in state. We already took out the month high. This now means that price is functioned to go for monthly lows. How can you, from knowing this, how can you structure trades off of this, right? So what we do now is we look for previous day high sweeps, right? So where are we getting a previous day high sweep or like an SMT, anything like that? So we close through here. We're bearish on the daily. We close through here, we're bearish on the weekly. So now we're targeting this monthly low. So once this Monday candle closes through, there might be an SMT on these highs, which would be nice. Wednesday, Thursday. Let's actually see, because that'd be like a very good example. There isn't. That's fine. Oh, but see what you see here? There you go. So you can see right here, we get this SMT. Wednesday sweeps Tuesday high. This would be your entry for three reasons. One, we're in this bearish PDRA, this bearish daily PDRA. Two, we get that previous day high sweep. Three, we know our draw is monthly lows. Okay, we know our draw is monthly lows right here. Because we swept monthly highs and got that weekly change in state, we now know we're going for monthly lows. So once we get this SMT with Tuesday and Wednesday high, you can go back to NQ, get that SMT, or if you want trade ES. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. ES has been looking like ES has been looking like the better pair to trade. I just can't lie. Like, in my opinion, I low-key want to make the switch to trading ES just because the SMT is always on NQ, and that stays throwing me off. Like, I don't want to have to look at ES to see if we're SMTing when ES is just putting in the liquidity sweeps. To me, it's just more easy to trade like that. But I mean, unless here Monday, Friday, let's see if we SMT. Then I mean, what I just said is wrong. Let me see, we don't. So I don't know. Anyways, this could be one entry, right? Once we already know our weekly draws down here, this is another entry. If we still, if we're still getting the conviction that we're lower, this is another previous day high sweep. So wherever there's previous day high sweeps, like even here, Wednesday, what day is this? Wednesday, Tuesday. Okay, well, we don't SMT. We don't get that previous day high sweep. So you just let this trade run, honestly. But when you pair up our draw, our knowing the functioning of price, which you kind of get from knowing when we get our liquidity sweep and what we're closing through, then you can structure trades at way better risk, right? Because when you see this, right, even here, right, here we're getting a weekly liquidity sweep again. So we're coming up this March. Okay, so there's no previous month sweep. So we're getting this weekly sweep, 2 weekly high sweeps. So this is what I mean, right? That was actually a very good example. So how do we know what high here, what weekly high we're going to go for when we want to structure our trade? How do we know we're not going for this March high or this March high? It's not just as simple as pulling out equilibrium, because if you were to do that, you'd think we're coming for like this week high, which is something that I probably would definitely fall for. It depends on our change in state. So our day, like, you got to see. Okay, there's technically a liquidity sweep here. This up move before this down. Okay, so this is the only daily like right here. It's not even that. Let's see if I can find a 4-hour. I'm trying to find a change in state level so I can explain to you guys. So this up move before this down move right here. So this is our bearish order block that you could see price pulls into quite amount of times. Once we close through it with good structure, like up here, then you can say, okay, now our days are going to target daily highs. And once we get that function, we can say, okay, now we're going to go for weekly highs, right? Because now we're getting bullish price action. This is bullish price action, and we're not coming for this low again, right? So we're creating higher highs, lower lows. So we're bullish here, right? I mean, you can tell that this week price action just wasn't good, but that's because we're waiting for us to pull into a weekly liquidity sweep, weekly order block. Weekly fair value gap to get that remodel, to get another model to pull us lower, right? So how do you know we're not going for like one of these highs up here? It's because we're not getting a weekly change in state for us to target these monthly highs, right? February high. I mean, this March high is up here. It's aligned with 0.32 nicely, but there's no strong daily change in state. Like if one of these candles down here, even if there was, right, this right here is our daily change in state. As you can see, we use both of these as our PD rate to send us lower. If we were to now close through this, then we'd be very close to getting this weekly liquidity sweep, and I'm almost confident we would. But there's a reason that price was not able to close through this bearish order block on the daily time frame, because if we did, then we'd be targeting these weekly highs, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to wait for a change in state back to the downside. So then you know that, okay, we're now targeting lows. But you don't need a change in state back to the downside because there hasn't been a daily change in state to the upside. There's no daily liquidity sweep. Yes, you could say this is, and it's this up move before this down move, but because we're closing bullish and because the next candle rip right away, you could just tell that this is just our previous day low sweep to then push us higher. So you could take longs off of this, right? You could take longs off of this previous day low sweep, but again, that'd just be trading against the trend, which I'm just not a fan of. When the higher time frame is telling you one thing, it's better to just wait. I can give you all one more example, maybe two, because there's two good ones right here. So right here, we have October low. Or no, technically this is part of, let me see real quick. Pretty sure that's part of November low. Yeah, so this is November low, this is December. So how do we know we're going for these monthly lows, and how do we structure a trade off of that, right? Because we have this week low. So let's say you have your entry at this week low and you have your stop there as well, or something. Or you just don't know, you're waiting, you just don't know which low is enough, right? We have this down move before this up move, and this becomes our bullish order block. Once we close through it, right? Once this December candle closes through it, January opens, and you can't really tell that we get the liquidity sweep, but if I go on the 1 hour, you'll be able to see, and I'll honestly do that. But the reason that January sweeps both December, and I guess you could say that December swept, maybe that's why. So December swept, let me make sure instead of just guessing, if December swept November low. So where's November? So this is November low. $13,175.50. $13,179.50. And that was what, 7.5? $174. I honestly can't tell. I don't think December swept it, but we could be SMTing. One thing I'm for sure is January swept those lows. Okay, so yeah. December did not sweep November low, but January swept both those lows. Why did they sweep? Why did January sweep the low? Purely because of that weekly change in state. Huh? That's weird. What the fuck? Okay, I just have to unmute this. So yeah, December doesn't sweep either of those lows, so that's fine. So, as I was saying, the reason we know that January will sweep this low and then get our change state. So when we look back here, this up move before the down move is our change in state on the daily, right? So January sweeps those lows because these weeklies have been sweeping the lows because we got our weekly time frame, refunctioning price. Like this could have just very simply been a time thing, like just the wrong day or something. Right? Let's see, yeah. So we closed on Friday. But we definitely could have. So once we get our change in state back to the upside, here, once we close through this, that then again refunctions price to go for weekly highs. How do we know we go for monthly highs? Damn, there's not even no... Technically, an inverse gap does count as a change in state. So once we inverse this gap, could tell you, okay, we're getting a weekly change in state, meaning we're going for monthly highs. We do only get, there's only a daily up close candle. There's no weekly up close candle because we've been bearish this whole time. But like once we close through here, then it's kind of a confirmation. But this is one of those things where, again, we go, well, technically no. So this weekly up close candle before this down move, once we close through it, then we know we're going for monthly highs. But I mean, we're pretty much already there. So it's not like, it's a lot better to know that from down here. Because once you know that from down here, then you can just enter on any, not any, but here we get like previous day sweeps. You know, we get a pull back into a level of equilibrium because this is technically a low because we're lower than this candle. So we pull into 0.382. So this would be a very, very optimal entry for this entire move, right? For the month high, 1,000 points. Right, you can even take the entry from this change in state because we get this previous stay low. Actually, this would be the most optimal entry right here. This would definitely be the most optimal entry because at least you can target weak highs. So you could get two trades basically, and at least what you can do is let a runner go or just take your profits and then wait. Right, there's multiple ways to trade, like how you want to let it run, but this would be the first entry after we get that monthly liquidity sweep and daily change in state, because we get this previous day low sweep in this bullish gap, this daily bullish gap. So this would be our first entry, or a little higher. Say you wait for like a 5-minute change in state or something, and you could let it go till month highs, which is like right here. Or sorry, not month highs, week highs. So that's already right here, or the next week high, which is the same as the monthly high. So yeah, you could take that as a trade. You could take this as a trade, right? And then you could also, let's say you do just take it to week high, which I don't know. When you pull out standard deviation, I don't see a reason to, because you at least get till up here. But let's say you just let it run like that. Then once you get more confirmation that, okay, now we got a weekly change in state, now we can target month highs, then you can let the second trade run like that. You know? Just depends on how you want to do it. You could take partials and let that position continue running. It's whatever. But one trade for the whole month and you get 1,200 points. Another example, probably the final example that I was able to find, like for real, was right here. So, let me actually see real quick. Okay, so us targeting monthly highs right here. Why do we target monthly highs? So we're on this downtrend, okay? When we're on this downtrend, we want to be able to find a high to enter off of, right? When we're on an uptrend, you want to find a low to enter off of. So how do we know we're not just taking out a weekly high or like what monthly high we're targeting? So we have this weekly bearish order block, this up move before this down move. Once we close through it, right? This is in May. Once we close through it, I mean, June did fucking nothing here, right? So once July closes through it, we know one, we're going for June high, but at the same time we already sweep it going through our change in state. So we can function. We know that price is now targeting monthly highs because we got this weekly change in state, right? So we perfectly sweep that, and in doing so look, before this monthly high, right? Because we could just be like, oh, we swept May monthly high, now we're going to come down. Is there any PD array here that would pair us with that to send us down? No, right? All we have is this wick, which, I mean, you could trade. But price doesn't respect it. And the reason is because at this monthly high, there's also this bearish PD array, this weekly bearish PD array. And we're in equilibrium. So now you see how the model just puts itself together when you're patient. Because if you were to assume, okay, we got this weekly change in state, and we swept this monthly high, now we should target monthly lows. One, we haven't fulfilled equilibrium, so we would want to go higher. Two, we have no bearish PD array, so there's only one part of the model that's completed. Only the functioning of what high and low has been completed. Also, there hasn't been a change in state to the downside. Here, we get our change in state to the downside once we close through this down move, right? So now, we wait, right? We get another monthly high, a bearish PD array, equilibrium fulfilled, and we get this daily change in state. What does that mean, right? That now means we're targeting weekly lows. So we're at least coming down to this low. Once we get this weekly change in state, because we closed through this gap, now we know, okay, not only are we going for weekly lows, we're guaranteed going for monthly lows, which is here, right? We don't get that in the same month just based off of time. We just didn't have enough time. But we continue because the model is a monthly model. So, you need time for these models to play out when it's a high time frame trade. So let's say you get this, you don't enter off this daily change in state, right? Because there's a previous day high sweep. So off this whole model, this would be the main entry, because we get a previous day high sweep. We're in a bearish PD array. And we most likely fulfill equilibrium. We don't. That's fine. I've started to notice when you're trading, like, I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes when you're trading it fully, like, we're not in equilibrium on this low time frame or like this part, but if you do see, where are we in equilibrium? Right here. We do perfectly fulfill equilibrium on this monthly trade that this fulfilled, right? So we're still in equilibrium once we pull into here. So even though we're not in equilibrium on this smaller range, the larger range, we do fulfill equilibrium. So we have everything we need regardless, right? We get that previous day high sweep. This would be the entry for basically the month, because we know we're targeting these monthly lows. And you get 2,000 points, and you really don't have to worry about this is more swing trading, more for you can't trade a funded like this. It's for like live accounts and stuff like that, but how optimal it is it's just so much better. You feel me? Like here, back on this move up, how could you take another trade off of this? We're back in a bearish PD array, right? We're in this bearish PD array. We sweep previous day high, right? So you have to wait because we keep sweeping previous day high. So one thing I have learned, and I'm going to do a trade recap for this week. One thing I have learned is if you're trying to catch the top or bottom of the moves, you really have to wait for a change in state instead of just trying to guess. So once this whole candle closes through, there's probably a 1 hour change in state, so you're not getting such a low fill. Damn, there's really not. So your entry could just be off here, and you'd enter lower, but you already got the entry from here, so there's just no need to, you generally don't have to trade for an entire month, and you're still catching the same move plus more as if you traded every individual day. Yeah, you might miss out on a week of longs. That's it. But at the end of the day, the trading style is it's different. You're not supposed to trade funded like this at all. This is not for funded traders. This isn't for prop firms. You can do both. You feel me? If you want to trade prop firms and trade a live account, you can put your swing trade in on your live and then trade prop firms day to day. That's what I'm starting to do, because you'll see in my trade recap, sometimes you miss your swing trade and then you kind of just sit there like, damn, I wish I could be trading. So that is something I'm starting to do now, trading both fundeds and lives. But yeah, that's the fundamentals of how price functions itself on the daily, the weekly, the monthly, and how you can know what week we're going to pull into to get our liquidity sweep and what week or month low we're going to target. If y'all have any questions, drop them in the comments. I will be dropping another video right after this for my week trade recap, so make sure you watch that as well. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, drop a sub as well. I hope y'all have a good weekend. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.